Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today, Elle.
Of course.
First, I wanted to ask kind of about the journey that Witch Hunt has taken over the past year, because originally it was supposed to premiere at last year's South by Southwest. So, what was that like upon finding out that it wasn't going to happen, things were going to get delayed? What was that whole experience?
Obviously, it's devastating as a filmmaker to have your to have the entire festival circuit shut down. So it was pretty disappointing, but there are bigger things happening in the world that um, but I just knew that our time, it just wasn't our time yet. So, we pulled it from the festival circuit and just waited until the time was right, and just happened to be the next year at South by. So we were very fortunate to be invited back, and we're really excited to have our premiere there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys still get this chance. Um, when I was watching the film, I was really taken by the really strong social commentary. That's something I really love in genre work. I love how you can, find those metaphors in like horror and sci-fi. Is there any specific political event that, inspired you to write this story, or was it just the state of the world in general?
It's definitely the state of the world in general, and I definitely didn't set out to write, I guess, such a political film. I just wanted to make a film about witchcraft and set it in modern day, and I just thought that it that's how it would really happen. I mean, there's so many different representations of witchcraft and wizardry, and you have like Harry Potter, where it's the secret world and it's very light and whimsical. But I think that if witches really existed, this is how they would be treated, because they're just they're an other, they're someone that's different and misunderstood, and that's how we, unfortunately, in this country treat those kind of groups of people, and it's terrible. So hopefully that through watching this film, people will be entertained, but also come away like learning a little bit about um, those kind of issues that we're still facing today.
Yeah, I think that definitely showed through in your storytelling. Speaking of the other, I think obviously there are parallels between the witches' experiences and those of illegal immigrants, of course, with like the border crossing and all of that. I also sensed a really strong kind of possibly queer connection between the two female leads. Was that intentional? I noticed like with the Thelma and Louise, metaphor that came in, and they kind of bonded over that. Was that something you purposely infused in there, or just something that arose as you were filming?
That was definitely my intention. I'm a kind of person where I don't really like look at gender necessarily in terms of like who to love. And so when I had these two female characters that obviously had a connection, we just decided to explore it. Yeah, luckily we live in an era where we can do that, and I think we just need to keep doing that in film.
Yeah, definitely. Going into genre work, is there any specific auteur or director who inspires you from the horror and sci-fi genres?
I'm definitely a big fan of Guillermo del Toro. Just his films are so magical and have amazing creatures, but they're also very colorful, and I like to kind of saturate the color tone of my films. Um, yeah, I draw a lot from him. Actually, his film Pan's Labyrinth was where I pulled a lot for my witch hunter villain, um, specifically.
I can really see that actually. Yeah, I like how you drew that parallel, because now that you're saying that, I can totally see similarities in their mannerisms and just like the menace they bring when they come on screen. I also
Mhm.
think Shape of Water, obviously, like in terms of demonizing the other and really, loving and overcoming biases and everything.
And his films are, they deal with very like kind of dark and scary subject matter, but they're also like very colorful, like very saturated, and that's how I like to make my films look too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that a very interesting visual color palette. It
Mhm.
really felt like America, but definitely infused with this magic and like similar, but not the same. I like that we could relate to it, but it was definitely its own unique environment too.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog is like eating right now, so she's like making so much noise.
Good. So, as a female filmmaker, because you wrote and directed this movie, who inspires you in that realm in Hollywood today?
Um, Definitely Patty Jenkins. I was a PA in the studio system for a long time, and uh, I worked with the editorial crew on the directorial cut of Wonder Woman.
Oh,
Um, and I didn't have a big role by any means. It was mostly just turning on the Avid machines, but I got to see how she worked, and it was the first time I had worked under a female director, and I just wanted to you know do what she did, and it was really great to have that kind of role model. So afterwards I left and started my own directing career.
awesome. I totally see similarities in terms of, a female filmmaker coming into the genre space. Superhero
Mhm.
films are traditionally deemed like boy fare and stuff, but she owned it, just like you own this. Do you have any plans for expanding kind of on this world of witch hunt? Because I think you set up a really interesting scenario here. And when I was talking with my editor and a few others who have seen screeners, we were like, I would want to see more. I want to see what happens next, like either like a spin-off or a sequel or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. It is such a rich world, and I try to set up all my films with by first world building. And so like I think I'm really big into streaming series, especially in quarantine, because they're long movies. But I would love to explore like, how other parts of the country are dealing with that kind of witchcraft oppression. A really early draft of the script actually took place in New England. Um, so it would be cool to, I don't know, maybe explore something there.
Yeah, I could definitely see it, as a streaming series, long form storytelling, kind of other perspectives across the country. I think that'd be really
Yeah, totally. And maybe in different countries too. I mean,
yeah.
I have a whole backstory for everything in terms of like which countries, like how they like there are certain laws for witchcraft and stuff and when it started. And I don't know, could be a cool thing to do like the history of it.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. The ties maybe to like Salem and all of that. I love that
Mhm.
imagery. So post pandemic, what projects are you hoping to pursue once things, kind of get back to some sense of normalcy?
Um, yes, I'm just looking to get back on set. I mean, I wrote so much in quarantine. Um, and now I'm just kind of shifting through and seeing like what stories I really want to tell. It was an interesting time to be writing because the world was so tumultuous and also isolating. And I found myself writing darker stories, but watching happier things on my own television. So my next script will probably be pretty dark because I have a lot of that kind of like frustrations and things that I want to throw into my next project.
Mhm.
Also, Witch Hunt was kind of a lighter story. I think it wasn't like straight horror. It's an entertaining thriller, like a mystery thriller. So I think I'm gonna go back to some good old fashioned horror next.